What's going on, party people? Good to see you. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. Listen, we're just going to dive right back into our conversation as we've been looking at pornography. Last time we looked at the damage it has to the brain. This time we're looking at the damage it has to relationships. And believe it or not, it is never in a position to help your relationship, but it is always going to put you in a binding trap, a position that destroys your relationships, the ones you have with friends, the ones you have with family, the ones you have with your significant other, your potential spouse, your future spouse, your current girlfriend, your current boyfriend. It's going to do damage. Before we go into this conversation, I want to read you some scripture, right? Remember our first video when we looked at the root word of pornography and we saw that it was pornea or porneia, right? That has its root words in porn, pornographic, pornography. And we remember all that we talked about in regards to its connections to sexual immorality, the words of sexual immorality, whoredom, fornication, all of those things, right? So I want to bring to your attention this scripture text, 1 Corinthians 6:18. And it reads this: flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. So this idea of pornography and not just pornography, right? But we're talking about heterosexual premarital sex, homosexual sex, all of these kinds of things, lust, all these kinds of things, right? Where it is the desire of the flesh and sexual intentions that are outside of the context in which God created them, right? We are harming the most important person, the most important people that we should ever hold in most regard outside of Jesus. And that's ourselves, right? The most important person outside of God is you. And we read in scripture that sexual sins, sexual immorality, which is just saying that it is sex being perverted and twisted outside of the context that God created it for. So in no way does this mean that sex is bad, but that it has a horrible, wicked connotation when it is used outside of the context that God created it for, which is for marriage. Sex is a wonderful thing, but only in marriage. And so we read in this scripture to flee from sexual immoralities, porneia, pornography, right? Things of those sorts, because it is a sin against ourselves. We are literally hurting ourselves. So let's talk about the damage that it causes to relationships, right? I think this is a very, very intriguing, very important thing to look at because there are a lot of potential relationships that have been damaged or are being damaged because of porn being present, not only in just the individual's life, but in the relationship. OK, so first off, I'm gonna list off a statistic and it might blow your mind, but married men and women who invite porn into their marriage, into their bed, into their relationship, statistically are more than likely to get divorced than men and women who are married who don't invite pornography, right? So off the bat, we see divorce rates increase because of inviting pornography into the marriage, into the bed, into the scenery. OK, so as we said, it makes it worse. Right. Pornography makes it worse. It deteriorates. It doesn't elevate the relationship. It just makes things worse. OK, so one way that it can make it worse is it places the wrong view on how sexual relations are supposed to be. OK, remember, we mentioned how pornography creates this image. Pornography creates this fantasy, right, of how sex should look. Right, to the point where, again, if you're indulging in it so much, you're going to look to sexual relations with your spouse and you're going to expect them to do what you watched. And what happens is not only does it lose that space of intimacy, that space of love, that space of deeper connection, but you also lose not only that, but also the creativity, right, that can come into sexual relations. But then also, right, it puts weight, extra added weight on your spouse to make them feel that they have to be someone else other than themselves. So it's an extra weight that crushes them, that crushes their confidence, that crushes their interest in themselves. They start questioning if they're good enough. They start questioning if they're good enough for you. Right. And it's just an extra added weight that just starts crushing and weighing down on your spouse. OK, so even in situations where maybe the marriage isn't going well, maybe the whole sex in bed isn't going well with your spouse and all that is taking place, there are many who decide, hey, I'm gonna turn to porn because this is something that will relieve it. This is something that will help out. When in actuality, it just makes things worse. OK, it just makes things worse. So when it comes to orgasms, right? What you associate with an orgasm is what it will take for one to occur. Okay. So whatever it is that you associate with it, if it's a kiss from your spouse, if it's bodily touching with your spouse, if it's intimacy and sexual intimacy with your spouse, or if it's something that you watched, again, it's all about from what you watched, from what you really spent your time indulging in. When it comes to pornography, these things can set the tone of what it takes to reach the climax of sexual intercourse with your spouse. And that spells trouble. Okay. So when we remove from the orgasms and we remove from everything that we just spoke of, I want to actually dive a little bit deeper, right? For all you single people out there. Right? Not just single people, because this relates to people in relationships too. But I want you to see how much of an impact pornography has on how you view the opposite sex. OK, I know that you've seen all over social media how opposite sex really kind of throw jabs at each other. Oh, men are dogs. Women ain't about nothing. You know, I'm sure you've seen a tweet that has something that suggests that guys aren't ever about anything. And a lot of times it might be judged from just one person they dated, or I don't know, it could be something completely different. But you've heard those statements, right? You've heard those statements. You've seen them. And I want you to see how much of an impact pornography even has on statements and viewpoints like that, because it has a way of you judging and misjudging, misinterpreting, misconcepting the idea of what a female desires or what a male desires. Okay. So men and women who were highly exposed to porn, right? This was a statistic data that was pulled out from my research, right? Men and women who were highly exposed to porn say that having a daughter was not something they wanted most, seeing they wouldn't want their daughter to be used in such a way. OK, so they have taken what they see on pornography and they'll be like, man, shoot. I mean, from what I've seen, man, I don't want no daughter because they are not. I don't want to have no kid that turn out like that, because even in that environment, they are tying, right, the entire existence, the entire women, sexual, females, all those things. They're tying it to these things. OK, I want you to see what they tie them to. All right. So the picture that's painted of females, right, are ideas such as these. They can't wait to have sex with any man they see. They never say no, and they can't get pregnant. OK, these are lies that pornography tells us. OK, that's about women. They can't get pregnant. They don't say no, and they just can't wait to have sex with any man they come across. OK, but let me also show you the painted picture that it does for men. OK, painted pictures such as they're soulless. They use women to their advantage, and sex is all they care for. I know you've heard that somewhere. Someone has told you that. And listen, this isn't to derive from someone that you may have indulged with, messed with, right, that may have shown traits of that. Right, because there are guys and that fit that description that maybe you have come across, or maybe there's girls that fit the description that I just listed for them that you may have come across. But understand that just because that person moved and lived in that manner does not mean that the entire gender, gender of people that fall under that category move that same way. OK, this isn't me trying to plead a case of talking about, oh, no, y'all tripping, y'all females tripping, y'all dudes tripping. Like, this ain't crazy. No. I'm just sharing with you what pornography can do to our mind, because it turns this idea of what we think women are, who we think men are. We start thinking of what they want. We start thinking that's all they want. We start thinking this is all they desire. And this is how we have messed up people. I'm going to just get real. Okay, be prepared. Put on your seatbelt buckle because I'm going to get real. This is how we have people who are pursuing relationships for just sexual relations and nothing further. This is how we have females who desire true relationships. But we have guys who are approaching females. No matter how long they have to wait, they are willing to wait because in the end, they just want some cheeks. I'm going to just keep it a buck. That's all they want. They just want to have sex. They just want to hit and quit. They just want to do what they want to do and then leave. Right. And it's on to the next. In fact, science tells us that this is a sign of what they call the Coolidge effect. Now, this is kind of crazy because I looked it up. This is kind of crazy. Right. So the Coolidge effect, they tested with lab rats. And so they put a male rat and a female rat. Right. And almost every time, if not every time, the male rat decided to mate with the female rat. Right. In this test. But as soon as he mated with her, he never did it again. Right. It was rare that a male rat would go to the female rat and would mate with them again prior to another occasion, another test or anything like that. Right. But if they put a whole new female rat in there or relocated the male rat to another cage where there was a female rat there, a whole new face, a whole new opportunity. This is where the male rat would then begin to mate all over again. And it's a whole process, right? Where it was a new face, a new opportunity, and all of a sudden they had the urge to mate again. Okay. The Coolidge effect, now translated to humans, is what pornography can present and create and damage when it comes to relationships, to the point where every click, right, that pornography goes through, you don't want to watch the same ones, you go to different ones. And so this is how you perceive your women. You perceive your women by how you view and how you click. You click on a new video, you see a new face, it's a new opportunity, you go in, you dive in, and then you take from what you're doing from these pornography videos you're watching, these pornography images you're watching, and then you take it to your real relationships. So you only see you see one woman, you play your cards right, you get to know her, you get in, you have sex, and then you move on. Right. This is how you start hearing people say that there's no attachment in sex and they don't believe that sex is anything intimate. They just do it to do it. There's no feelings involved because you have people who have been addicted to some level of pornography, whether around them or them themselves. And they have indulged in sexual activity for so long that they are losing the feeling that sex is for and sex is agreed with in the right context with it, which is marriage. Okay. So it presents so many issues. Okay. So we talk about the wrong view and lies that porn tells you about men and women. We see the damage it has on relationships. We see the divorce rates between couples who watch pornography and couples who don't watch pornography. Right. Divorce rates increase with couples who watch pornography and divorce rates are decreased for couples who don't. Right. We see the relationships that are destroyed because, again, as we mentioned last video, here it is. The preference of masturbation and the preference of pornography is increased in marriages due to pornography, to the point where, again, sex is dull. Real life sex is dull. And you would rather masturbate and have your self pleasures. Right. Even to the point of laying in the bed together. Right. Laying in the bed together, performing masturbating acts together, not to each other, but to yourselves when the opportunity to come together is there. And that makes no sense. You're probably like, bro, that makes no sense. Why would they do that? Why would anyone do that? But that's what pornography puts you in the position to do. This is the rewiring of the brain. This is the rewiring of all these things that are taking place in your mind to make you think that your sensation can only be reached at a peak when you have involved in pornography to the max, to the fullest. OK, so damaging your relationships is all that pornography does. And for you single people, it just damages how you see the opposite sex. It damages how you see people that you may potentially want to date, potentially want to marry, potentially should want to pursue a marriage or relationship with. It ruins it. Right. This is how you gain those perspectives. right? And there's a lot of ways that you can gain those perspectives. I'm not saying porn is the only one, but porn is the highest rated one, right? Because so many people year in and year out are tuning in to pornography that was once used as an educational purpose. But then the more you watched it, the more you got hooked on it. And the more you got hooked on it, the more you were unwilling to stop. And because you were unwilling to stop, you found pleasure, you found excitement, you found some level of happiness in it. You started saying it was because of stress, I need to do it. It's because I'm bored, I need to do it. It's because I'm depressed and anxious, I need to do it. It's because I'm lonely, I need to do it. Maybe I haven't done it in a while, so let me reward myself. Right? All of these things that play a part in pornography, that because of triggers and because of all these other situations and scenarios just listed, that we are going to continuously dive into it. And it's not helping you, it's hurting you. And it damages how you see other people. It damages your future relationships. And it even damages marriages to the point of divorce. Thank you for tuning in. You don't want to miss tomorrow's conversation because we're going to look at other effects and simple effects that take place from pornography, and the damages that it does to us physically, emotionally, mentally, and all these other things. But I just wanted you to see this video because this is important to understand that, again, what we opened up with, sexual immorality, including pornography, damages yourself. It hurts the most important person outside of God, which comes to you as an individual. How can you expect to be the best you want to be in the relationships you have when pornography is the secret sin or the issue that you're wrestling with that is literally rewiring your brain and damaging relationships you currently have and relationships you could potentially have? These are things to be aware of. So I hope that this was of service to you. I can't wait to talk to you. Next time, we're going to be looking again at the effects. So can't wait to see you there. But until then, as always, peace.